Well, I'm delighted to be joined by the power of the internet by Graham Duff, an old Brighton friend who I've known now for over 30 years. Graham, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you, Andrew. It's been too long. It really
It's
has.
been a
Yeah.
long time, and especially now that you've decamped back up to the northwest.
I've returned to my spiritual homeland. It's true.
And I suppose this is my spiritual homeland too. We have that
Yeah.
in common. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to see. A few weeks ago, I noticed that Ideal is back on the iPlayer. And I have to
Yeah.
confess that I binge watched quite a
Oh,
lot of
brilliant.
it again because
Oh,
it
brilliant.
just fills me with joy. And of course, now you're taking it out on the road on tour in a stage version. How difficult
Yeah.
has it been to convert something with seven series of God knows how many episodes into something which I suppose takes place in 2.5 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. In some respects, it's been fairly straightforward. In other respects, it's been a challenge. I mean, anybody who's seen the show will recall that it's all largely set in three or four rooms. We just I think twice we step outside the flat across the whole series, so it always had that quite claustrophobic, contained thing going on anyway. So in that respect, it's fairly straightforward. The other side of it is, of course, with television, you're doing so much with editing, with close-ups, with the soundtrack and so on. So we've had to find other ways to get the tension and suspense that the program has as well. So I like a challenge, but not too many challenges at the same time. So yeah, it's been okay. It's been good.
I mean, it is the most extraordinary piece of television because it straddles between being almost a thriller, a crime piece, and
Yeah.
comedy with huge slabs of surreal behavior going on in there. I know that you're very, very interested in art and in particularly in those more extraordinary artists. Does that influence your writing work a lot?
Yeah, I think it has. And I think, I think as a kid I was into surrealism before I knew what surrealism was. And I remember finding a book in the library that was like paintings by Dali and Magritte and so on, and just thinking, oh yeah, this is my kind of stuff, So, and then when I first started getting into films and things like anything that used a fisheye lens or anything that had a dream sequence or a hallucination sequence, I was just drawn to. And one of my biggest influences is Lindsay Anderson and David Sherwin, who did If and No Lucky Man and Britannia
Yes.
Hospital. And I think one of the things I've taken or filched, if you like, from that work is one satirizing every level of society. So you don't deify, you don't say, oh, the homeless are sacrosanct and the rich are to be pilloried. It's like you take the piss out of everybody, but you love everybody at the same time. And also surreal interludes and so on. And I mean, I was having this conversation with Johnny Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying how it's funny how it gets called surreal a lot, and it is surreal. But equally, we get people coming up to us and going, "Oh, that was like watching my life on screen." And I think that's an interesting combination that somehow it's very, very strange and absurd, but somehow it's true to life. So I think, yeah, there's some people are obviously leading very surreal lives, and that's
And
what we're mirroring.
the word surreal has dropped into common parlance and is used willy-nilly by people when
Yeah.
actually all they mean is, oh, I really didn't understand it, or it was rather odd.
Yeah, I think it has but been degraded to refer to the sort of mildest of oddities. And I think, yeah, it's a bit, do you know, it's a bit like the word iconic. I'm so up to here with iconic. At the beginning of June, I started doing an iconic watch to see how many days I could get through without seeing, reading, or hearing the word iconic. So since the beginning of June, I've managed 5 days so far in which it's not cropped up. It's so overused, and yeah, surreal. It gets overused, and it sort of devalues true surrealism. But that is the nature of things. That's the way things get evolve, I suppose, in usage.
In the stage version, are we going back to the end of when the TV series stopped, or have the characters all moved on? Are they all in 2025 now?
Yeah, they've all moved on. They've all been through COVID. So we pick it up in 2025. And I don't want to tell you too much, but as you alluded to earlier, it is partly a crime sort of mystery. There's a murder mystery element to it, in which any one of his regular customers could be the murderer. But yeah, people have moved on. So say the character that I play, Brian, he's now got an OnlyFans because, of course, he has. It's like, how could he not? So he has his own OnlyFans. Colin, who spent most of his 20s and 30s on probation, is just come out of prison. Just got early release from prison. But he's struggling with it a little bit because he finds freedom a bit restrictive because he knew where he was when he was in prison, and now it's all a bit hard for him. Moz has never stopped dealing. It's a job for life. He's just carried on dealing. But he's seen changes, and obviously now it's like people can buy stuff off the dark web. You've got dealers driving around on scooters like Deliveroo for stoners. You've got, he's struggling with market forces to sort of maintain his place in the marketplace. So, yeah, there's a lot that reflects what life is like now for, what you might call an underclass, possibly. Because that's part of people quite often say it's about drugs, and there's drugs in it, but it's not about drugs no more than Only Fools and Horses is about stolen goods. It's about the people, and it's about subcultures, gangland stuff, musical subcultures, sexual subcultures. It's about that as much as about anything else. So obviously, in 2025, there's been a lot of changes, so it reflects that as well.
Of course, if there's a dead body from a murder, that'll keep Judith very happy, won't it?
Yeah, yes,
He
definitely.
said, displaying his knowledge of the series.
Yeah,
And of
there is
course,
a.
that's being played by the lovely Joanna Neary, who we all know and love.
Yeah, that's one of the character of Judith is one of the few characters that was written for a specific actor. So I'd known Joanna since I was in my late teens, I think, when we were in fact, when we were at university together, and I knew she'd be able to do this. And it's like I got a bit of pressure from execs at the BBC saying a necrophiliac. I was saying, no, no, it's a former necrophiliac. And they were going, oh, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. I said, no, no, don't worry, Gianna Neri will do this. We'll make her likable, and you'll be surprised. And sure enough, she did it, and it just you sympathise with her. She's a recovering necrophiliac, but you think, oh, bless her.
We can't go any further without, of course, saying that you've pulled together a massive number of the original cast, but most importantly, Mars, played by the incredible and extraordinary Johnny Vegas. Was he
Yeah,
up
I
for
mean,
it straight away?
yeah, he was. I mean, weirdly, well, not weirdly, but interestingly, perhaps it interests me anyway. We were talking about doing this back in 2019. At the end of 2019, we were saying, "What about doing a live show?" We'd always said when it ended on the BBC, we should do something with it. And we talked for a while about doing a film, but it's very difficult to get finances for a film, so that just felt like it was a whole job in itself. So we sort of that fell away, and then we said, "Well, let's do a live version." And we were just starting to talk about how it might work, where we might play it, and then of course COVID hit and society fell apart. And then last year we were talking on the phone about something completely different, and one of us, I can't remember which, said, "Oh, what about we should do that live show?" And then I had a meeting with Phil Jones of Edge Street Productions a few days later, again about a completely different project. And just a few minutes before the end of the meeting, I said, "Oh, by the way, Johnny and I were talking about maybe doing a live thing," and he went, "Oh, yeah, what you should do is," and then started laying it all out. And then basically less than a month later, it was in motion. Then we found out that finally BBC iPlayer were going to put all the episodes up again because it's not been available for about a decade,
No.
and it just felt like now is the time to do it because it's all dovetailing.
And what's it like working with Johnny? I mean, he comes across, obviously, when he's performing, as being the most outrageous and disorganized and crazy person. Does he focus when you're working?
No, he's disorganized and crazy. Yes, he does. He does. I think, like a lot of people with acute ADHD, I think once you got the attention, he's 100% there. And it's like, yeah, turning up on time and all that sometimes is an issue. But once he's there, I'm not talking about for theatre shows. I'm talking for meetings. But once he's there, it's absolutely because people sometimes say to me, "Oh, it must be a real bun fight working with Johnny." And does he turn up pissed and stuff like that? It's like absolutely not. He is incredibly professional. He's brilliant at learning lines. And when we were shooting, if ever there was anything where he had to cry or whatever. He'd just go method on it. He always knew stuff inside out. He's a really gifted actor. And I think people think he's a bit of a sort of lumbering bear who just chaotically makes these things happen. But he's very impressive as an actor. I've learned stuff from him as an actor,
Well,
definitely.
you open on Saturday, the 4th of October in Worthing, not in Brighton, but in Worthing at the Connaught Theatre. I
Yeah.
believe tickets are gone. So
I think that
panic.
is sold out now. Yeah, that's we start with a week. We start on the 8th of September with a week in Salford because that's where it's
Yeah.
based. So it felt like the place to. Then yeah, it's I think it's about 5 weeks of gigs, and then yeah, we do Worthing. Yeah, we I think because I would have loved to have played Brighton, obviously, and there's a few other places we wanted to play as well, like Glasgow and Bristol, but because it did move so quickly, we were basically like, right, where's available? Okay, that's it. And it's not out of the question we'll do another tour of this, perhaps at the end of next year. But let's get this one out of the way first, I suppose, is my thought. But yeah, it was just what was available because it does seem a bit daft that we're not playing in Brighton. But yeah, Worthing's not too far away, clearly.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing it and catching up with you when you're down here, Graham.
Ah,
Been
thanks, Andrew.
lovely talking to you, and good luck when the tour opens and with rehearsals. And I will speak to you again very soon.
Ah, pleasure, man. Great to see you.
If you have a local news story you would like to share with our viewers, please email us at news@thelatest.co.uk. Thank you for watching.